Hello. Hello, guys. How are you today? So what's going on? I'm gonna check the telegram. Oh, fuck. I can't... Wait, I can't even pay for the rent. No, I'm so poor. Happy Monday! I know it's a holiday for you guys, British. Workout for the day, just walking the stairs. So many stairs. Hello. I'm wondering if there is an inside in the train station, right? Oh, yes. Oh. No way, that is so pretty. Oh my god. Oh, wrong door. Oh. Oh, they changed this. It's bigger now. Mademoiselle Villeneuve, I was able to find Lainey at Duberry. She's handling Courage now with care. She says it will be a few days to get Courage all trained up, and you should be all set with the paperwork and everything now. Once the days are up, you can visit the ranch to pick up Courage. Feel free to telegram her to get updated on when you can visit Courage. And Armand. Hey, puppets! I love this new character and the new server. Amazing. Thank you for. Oh, happy Monday. Thank you, puppets. Yeah, I'm happy to play in this new server, and I'm really happy to share you this. Who's that? Why is he walking like that? What do we have here? All the Light Saloon Van Horn. They don't have whiskey though. They don't have alcohol. Okay, that is the Undertaker. The newspaper. Jewelry company. Time stop for no one. You shouldn't either. Where is it? Saint Denis. Levi. I don't think I've met this person yet. The Mints. That's great. I'm really happy. It's back. All right. And the newspaper again. I mean, there is not a lot of things right now. Hello. Hi, Bijou.
Yes? Hello?
Oh. Oh, I think the NPC just I have weird things for NPC. I don't know. I roleplay literally with them. That's so weird. Thank you, Bijou.
How you do, miss?
The family name is de Villeneuve. It's her last name, but she has her uncle, Louis Etienne de Maraville, and her cousin in the server, Armand, and I don't remember his last name. But they are all from the same family. It's the same family. And thank you, by the way. Very sweet. Hope you're all doing great, guys. Happy Monday. Is it a holiday for you too? Um, 18. Disgusting. Oh no. Can I eat? Bite? I'm tasting everything. Okay, okay. Wipe on pants. Fuck. The Apple are shitty though. Attends, mes bijoux, je suis complètement conne ou tu parles français? Parce que c'est un coup, je te parle anglais alors que tu parles français depuis le début, en fait. Ok. Damn, Apple are so bad. Oh, you're German. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. All right. Sorry about that. Ouais. So you don't speak French at all, I guess. Oh, the water pump is over there. If I remember. Oh. All right. Okay, that was weird. Is there an inside here? No. Oh. Fill up. Wait, or the money. Money. Food. Cigarette. Ouais. I'm wondering where are the people? Is you an NPC? Is that an NPC? Hello? Oh, nice. He is a real person. My god, it's so hot right now. I turn on the PC and now my room is super hot. The last time I checked on my room, it was like 28 degrees. Hi, Sully, welcome. Yeah, is it hot for you too? Summer is truly there, yeah, but early. What's the temperature for you? Me outside, it was like 44 degrees. Crazy. I remember now, oh my god, I remember something. The last year, it was so hot in summer in my room, and it was impossible for me to stream sometimes because it was too hot, and my room turned into the Sahara desert, you know, and it was impossible for me to stream, literally impossible. 44, yeah. 44 is crazy in May in France. Oh yeah, you in Ireland, it's like hot, humid. I think it's the worst. Jesus. Wow! I've been followed! What is that? Why is she following me? Who is that? The server quality, as I put a lot of work into it, I think it's been a lot. Yeah. The server here, I have a lot of space. Fuck! Where's my horse? Wait, where's the guy? Oh. Okay. Hello.
Hi there.
Oh, okay. It's the same guy. Yeah, I have a lot of faith in this server, and I'm having a lot of fun, and I think the roleplay right now is already really good, you know. The level and the quality is very, very nice. Manage. Customize? Customize? What does that mean? No, I want to ride her. It's been really hot here in England. I got 2 fans on right now. Wow. And my hot dog had a cool down in the shower. Was really funny. Oh my god. Wait, your dog likes that? Really? Mine in the shower, he will cry. He hates that. I want to check something. I want to check if Labest is open. In Ireland, I was wondering, is it possible in Ireland to have like 35 degrees? Maybe it's a dumb question, but sometimes in France, we have like 40 degrees, which is a lot. Well, hello. Mm. Oh, wow! A wagon! Wow! Hello?
How do you do?
Doing great, and you, madam?
I'm well.
Is that your wagon?
No. I believe it must be a gentleman's who's inside.
Oh, fair enough. Thank you. Oh my god, I want to know the price.
Good day, good day.
Doing all right.
Hello.
Thanks for getting along. Oh,
Hello.
hello,
I'm
Marcel.
very happy to see so many people know that your business is open, Mr. Rizzo.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And Mr. Quinn, it's just $1.
All right, thank you, friend. I appreciate
I
it.
would also
Thank you.
recommend, Mr. Rizzo, that if you're working the bar, that you go on duty. Clock in, as it
makes
were.
sense. Yes.
Does he have the license?
Apple,
Oh!
can I get you something?
Oh, apologies.
Yes. To have beef.
We do not have prime beef right now.
It's okay.
We do have lovely lamb.
Okay, lamb perfect.
Yeah. Sure. Would you like a cup of coffee with that?
Oh, yes.
Fantastic.
Do you have alcohol now?
I actually just got my license, but I don't right now. I got to start getting everything in order. But hopefully by this evening, the latest tomorrow, I should be able to get you some.
Okay.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
that's
Be sure to head
wonderful.
down to the docks, Mr. Rizzo. You should be able to
Oh, wow.
import
Wait.
what you need.
What was that?
Perfect.
Aye, now that you have the
There you go, ma'am.
license, they
What
will
was that?
they will surely let you do what you need.
Yes, yes.
Fantastic.
Congratulations.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to
what-
show these gentlemen. That's just
You
$1.
didn't. Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I just need to get the dimensions of this as well.
Wait. Use.
That's at least 5'4".
Oh, that's
Yes,
not
yes.
very nice of you to
It's
say
about the same
me.
height as you.
So,
No.
if I
That's ridiculous.
understand well,
I don't like that
when you
just did that in front
have
of these fine folk.
something in the
Now
hand,
I feel like a small man.
you can
I feel
do
emasculated.
a single
I'm not.
animation
I'm not
if I understood it
an
well,
emasculation.
and then
for
you
No,
cannot.
no.
So I'd appreciate you didn't do that.
Yes, very well, Mr. Gary, very well.
All right.
Gentlemen, I'd like to show you downstairs if you like.
Oh, please,
Oh,
please.
absolutely.
I think we'll have to go around the back. These have been locked already, and I don't have a key yet.
Oh, all right.
Why don't you try kick it open, Mr. Garrity? I don't wish to get my
Oh,
hands
okay,
let
they
me
changed
see.
the slash me. I
I hope
see.
you don't mind if he kicks it open, Mr. Rizzo.
Oh, of course not.
You gentlemen have yourself a lovely night.
Goodbye,
take care.
Mr.
You as well,
Quinn.
Mr. Quinn.
Would you like me to go get your crowbar from the buggy?
Oh, no, it's all right. I think I can get this. Hold on.
Get out the way, clear some room.
Qu'est-ce qu'ils font? What are they doing?
Yes, the last time that he was stopped by a door, he spent the next 15 minutes staring at it. Then he suddenly screamed and ran straight through it. Something like the Shaolin monks of China, something similar.
Oh,
What?
great.
Extreme concentration to bring out marvelous power.
Ah!
Oh, he did it again.
My lord. Apple, you can come down if you want also. I'm going to show these gentlemen an example.
Oh, sure. Apple. I love it.
Now this is an exclusive fucking thing.
Yes, sir, which is why I wanted a lock on that door and the one from outside.
Right, okay. Let me have a look around.
This is lovely.
I also
So
will suggest after you look around one thing that, if possible, I don't even would like a key to. I've heard very terrible things about a door behind the bar that leads even deeper into the city.
What is that?
Very well. If it's locked, we can keep it locked.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
What is
I'm gonna
that?
set up a little example for you guys what I'd like to do here. So 1 second.
That's cracking up.
Sure. Mr. Garrity, I believe, is in the back right now. If you'd like to wait
Of
a moment.
course. Oh yes.
In
I just need a minute to set up.
1899.
Mr. Garrity, I heard you, but where are you?
This is a brothel house.
Oh, well,
No,
you-
it is not. No, it is not.
It's
It's
just
not-
rooms, no?
Oh, a pity, a pity.
Oh, that's a terrible pity.
Yes, a pity it's not a brothel house.
Where are the titties? Titties?
Little vault is lovely.
I mean, it's low-key look like
Nothing compared to my
a brothel. My god, he's looking at every door.
Are you still looking for it, Toby?
I'm just looking around.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh.
So great.
Yes, I'm
Mr.
excited.
Rizzo, Mr. Rizzo.
Yes, sir.
Come in here, old bean.
I forgot about the kitchen down here. I've been trying to not come down here much. This is the perfect kitchen.
Damn.
I think that we could probably get the lads in to fix this up for you.
Absolutely, that would be fantastic.
Wait, are they giving him the keys?
Even if you want to do a 1-2 of the storage right next to it in the chest, I
Who are
don't
these
mind
guys?
that either.
How much storage do we allocate again, old bean? Is there the one?
I believe it's just the one.
Ah, well then don't bother having people moving around.
We can have the storage down here instead of upstairs, though. if you
Oh,
wish.
wait, I think they're putting down the
Honestly,
storage for
probably
him.
Better to have it up behind the bar, easier for the
Aye,
barkeep.
closer to the bar is probably
Yeah.
going to be easier.
Yeah, Bijou, exactly. They're very, very reactive. You know, the staff is
Let's have a
very
look
good.
around in here, shall we?
Yes,
Yes, sir,
Mr.
yes,
Rizzo
sir.
wished to do a quick
The
little
server
show
is
for us
new
whilst
and
we
the
old
staff
bean.
seems very,
Let me just check
how
out
do you
the
say?
back.
They
Yeah, feel free. I
listen to the
believe that's a little
people.
powder room for the performers. The
They're very
singers,
efficient.
pianists, all that.
I tell. Hello?
Oh, all right.
He eluded me. Mr. Garrity.
Yeah, I think you guys keep passing each other like two ships in the night.
Where is the
I think he's back there.
I think he's inside.
I heard him. I heard him say, "Mr.
Yeah,
Gary." And then
Me
that
too.
was-
And then he just went into that little room. Oh no.
Wait, where is he? Wait, where am I? Where are
Smoke and
they?
mirrors down here. Smoke and mirrors down here.
Blondell,
Oh.
come out past the stage.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
easy.
he's right
It was
here.
because
He's
of
right
the
here.
smoke.
Yeah, the smoke and mirrors of the stage.
Smoke and
Aye.
mirrors.
Smoke and mirrors.
Yes, yes.
Well, I like the place a lot. Just gotta make
Yes,
sure
sir.
there's no.
I was telling Mr. Blundell I wouldn't mind one door be locked by you gentlemen from the bank and never be opened.
All right, where's that? In here.
Yeah, I've actually never ventured down there myself, but
The
from the stories
bank.
I've heard, it's quite frightening, so I have no
There
interest.
you go. It's already locked.
Perfect, perfect.
Oh, where is the lady? I think she left. Alright, Jolie. Jolie. Psh, 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 psh. Come here. No. No. Here. Used. What does that mean? Ragdoll? What is that? See, I can use the sense only once. That's so sad. Oh, okay, it's here. Fuck. Is that anime? Okay, anime. Smoke cigarette. Oh, okay, I can fake it. All right. But that's all. She smokes like a man. Oh. And they used it. Oh no!
For entry stands at 7 to 1 odds, and Gone Fishin' enters at 8 to 1, ready to make Tennessee proud.
What is that?
Horses are now approaching the starting gates.
What is that?
Magnificent, focused. Judgment displaying their
Do you-
characteristic confidence. The Duke absolutely gleaming.
Absolutely gleaming! Where is it?
Oh, fuck. I'm so excited.
Beautifully into third.
Is it here? Mr. Gilly?
Southern King bides time in mid-pack. Golden Ray and Seabreeze have dropped to the rear of the field, perhaps saving
Is that Gilly?
move on the outside while lightning strike begins. Kentucky Don threading through
Absolutely gleaming.
but the leading group maintains their advantage. The crowd is absolutely
He's playing a
electric as they
cylinder
enter
in the
final
phonograph
turn.
right now. It's
Golden
fucking
Gallop still
lovely.
leads, but the Duke is
Where
charging.
are you? Sorry, where is the phonograph?
The Duke is surging past Judgment.
Right
Just
next to
down
him.
Don't you see him? It's right next to
100
him.
yards to go. Golden Gallop fighting valiantly, but the Duke won't be denied.
Are you
The Duke takes
upstairs?
the lead. The favorite struggling to
No,
respond.
the
he's
smoking
standing
area.
right in front of us.
What?
Gallop holds for second. Judgment a determined third. What a magnificent performance by the Duke, exceeding those 4 to 1 odds. The time and
Am I fucking dumb?
the Kentucky Oaks coming up in just a short while.
Oh, they might be downstairs.
Lovely.
Wait,
Oh, that was marvelous.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I'm glad I got to give you a little sneak peek, but that is indeed
Okay,
what we're
that
doing
was
out here once a week, and
a bit
it's a full
weird.
thing. I plan on doing a service called the Winner's Circle, where people can get more information on it mailed directly to them. They can know who's racing, every single horse odds, and then of course down here when it's race night, I have flyers hung up of the races. So
Hey,
people can know who's
Teddy.
racing. They can just
How
follow
are
their
you?
favorite horse. They can put some wager on it, all that good stuff.
Not chili.
Bloody sounds perfect to me.
How is my
Yeah, I'm very
favorite
excited
chili?
about this place, gentlemen. So thank you much for the opportunity, and thanks to the
Favorite
chief.
chili
I can't
paper,
wait to
how are you
tell him that.
doing?
Oh, absolutely.
At the end of the day, we're just messengers, you see.
Is it me? I can't see them.
Perfect. Yeah, well, you know, maybe don't shoot the messenger, but definitely thank the messenger.
Aye.
Well, I
All right,
can't thank
well,
you
we
guys
best be
enough.
getting off.
Yeah, don't let me hold you up any longer.
Oh
And
fuck.
if
Okay.
you need me to do anything else, or if I need to pick up keys from
Oh,
somewhere, or
sorry.
anything,
You
Miss
had a
oh my lord!
Mom,
Oh my lord!
you okay?
sir. I'm so sorry. You had a flea on your face. Are you okay?
Oh Jesus!
Sir. Wait, it doesn't work?
Oh, fucking hell. Oh, fucking
oh.
Jesus Christ. I'm getting out
How
of
are you?
there.
Oh,
Holy
God.
Oh,
Christ
sir.
almighty. I
Mr.
can't
Chili, I'm
breathe
so
anymore.
sorry. Oh no.
It happens. It happens. Some people pay for that.
But I need to talk to him.
Yes, yes.
Where is?
Okay.
Okay.
Rat. Something earnest. Okay.
Don't forget your
Oh,
badge.
monsieur, I
The
am
rat.
absolutely sorry.
Come here, Carl.
You had a big flea on your face.
Oh, that's all right. I understand. Some people just don't like the look of me.
Oh no. It's nothing about your look. It was because of the flea, you know. I was wondering, is that your wagon?
Aye, that's my buggy right there. It's not well. Technically, it's Mr. Plundel's. I just drive it around.
Would you happen to tell me the price of this?
Oh, it's a fucking lot.
How much?
Oh, it's in the hundreds. I think it probably about. Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I know they
Excuse me.
sell them. Hello.
Hello?
Where is the proprietor of the best deal?
He's
Oh, he's
inside.
just recently become the proprietor. He's behind the bar.
Well, I did not see him. Was he hiding from me?
No, he was downstairs.
Sir.
And that I need my Rosalita fix. What? What's going on with your Rosalita?
Right. Thank you.
Happy Monday. Yeah,
He's a
sure.
strange-looking fellow.
If I remember, he is the deputy in Van Horn or something, the sheriff, somewhere.
Oh, he's the sheriff. Right. Oh, interesting.
Hello.
All right.
Oh, and also, do you work in the bank? Or your colleague?
Well, technically, I work for Mr. Plundell. He works for the Bank of America.
Okay, so that means I need to talk to him, but not you.
Oh,
I got it.
What is it that you're doing?
Me, nothing. But my uncle, he wants to be the mayor of Saint-Denis. So that would be interesting if I have a talk with the bank or the person in head.
Well, what would the bank have to do with the mayor?
Well, maybe the bank can, help him for the elections. And I guess the bank can help a candidate.
I mean, I think that the banks are more about working to, do loans and whatnot. I don't think that
Certainly.
banks have anything to do with the mayor. I think you'd have to speak to someone from government or something like that. I'm not an expert, but I think
Who do you know? Do you work in the bank?
Who do I know? I mean, I work for someone that works for the bank. I'm quite closely connected with him.
But so you work in the bank?
Well, yes, I pretty much work for the bank. Yes.
I see.
Aye.
May I have your name again?
My name is Patrick Garrity.
Patrick Garrity, nice to meet you. I'm Apolline de Villeneuve.
I'm not gonna pretend that I understand what you just said.
You can call me Apple.
Apple, all right.
Correct.
Apple, who is this man that wants to run for mayor? What's his name?
Louis-Étienne de Marinville is my uncle.
Louis beyond the trees is what I heard. Am I
No,
right?
no. Louis-Étienne de Marinville.
All right. Louis, gotcha.
Yes.
Do you? You know what? I think this may be something that you could write down in a telegram to the bank.
Sure, sure.
Not because the bank might be able to help, but because then I can take the telegram and start reading it, because I think reading this name will help me more.
I can write it down for you. Hold on, I have a piece of paper.
Aye, if you have a piece of paper, that would be perfect.
Marinville, I think. Oh, wait, how do I give?
If I may, I think the most important part about trying to run for politics is to get a campaign behind you.
That's
So
what
my
he's trying to
advice-
do right now.
Aye. My advice would be to get around, tell everyone you know that you're trying to be a mayor, and then who knows? Maybe an election will start up, you know?
But that's what I'm trying right now,
Terrence Green.
actually.
A pleasure
Aye,
to meet
aye.
you, Mr. Green. You live here in Saint Denis?
Well, I wish you luck on that. I'll have a look at this note when I get the time, and I'll see if I can figure out who it would be that you'd need to speak with.
Sure. And do you know if it's possible to have the bank's telegram?
Oh, aye, I can give you that. It's are you ready for this? It's quite a long one.
Yes, yes.
All right, it's BANK.
All right.
Aye. It's bank.
Is it the Saint-Denis Bank or the bank in general?
It's just bank.
Yes,
That's
but
our telegram ID.
is it?
But
Is it?
we are part of the Bank of America.
All right, I see, I see.
We kind of travel around the state to state. You know, we stay in a lot of. Well, I won't beat around the bush. We stay in a lot of brothel houses and saloons.
Oh. Thank you for the follow, Kinas. Welcome. All right, then. Well, I appreciate your help. Thank you very
All
much,
right.
sir.
No problem at all. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
You too, take care. Oh! Is this horse dead? Fuck!
So maybe you could pass it to him. He's more
Sure.
useful than I am.
Just hoping about loving
Yeah,
meeting
I would do so,
Apolline.
for sure.
Not-
You know, be
Kind
easy to find
who
tape,
do
I
you
think.
play? Who
What
do you
the
play?
hell was that?
Thank you for the.
I hope you saw that in the
Photo ping back.
mirrors. Levi just hit the most insane shuffle out of the door.
No, I did see that. That's why I turned
Yeah, that
around.
was impressive. Levi, what the hell was this tiny shuffle you just did?
I was trying to. I had mud in my eyes, and mud's
Yeah?
still there. So
Well, maybe have a bath. Maybe even pay $2 and have a nice gal wipe you down.
okay.
Yeah, all right, pal. Anyway, Chef,
is
have
a-
you met
dead horse in front of your establishment, just
Oh,
saying.
fantastic. That's a good sign, I'm hearing. Wow. Miss Apolline, have you met the Sheriff of Van Horn?
I did yesterday.
Perfect.
Hello
Oh.
again.
Yes, the lady from France.
Indeed. But I completely forgot your name.
Sheriff.
Just Sheriff.
Sheriff Broussard of Van Horn.
Poussard of Van Horn. All right.
Yes.
That's the one.
Nice to see you again.
You have a lovely smoking stance.
You too. Huh?
Thank you.
It's very elegant.
Indeed. Wait, how does he smoke?
Indeed.
How does he
Well, how are you
Wait.
folks? Well, how is the city today?
Oh,
It's doing well for the short time I've been awake, but
I can change
Got
the
a good one for you, Sheriff.
stance.
I woke up to quite the sight.
Ah, yes, you're
of,
playing Mr.
I guess
Queen.
some moron
Oh,
trying
it's
to
so nice
collect
to
a
see
bounty all by
you.
his lonesome.
Happy
'cause I woke
Monday.
up to gunfire with some absolute moron's not even a strong enough word. Leading a group of people chasing him throughout the city.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Another
yeah.
man struck with imbecility.
Yep, another man too big for his boots, thinking he can go catch a man wanted dead or alive by himself.
Yeah, it's
I don't
hot,
know how
huh?
people are thinking that that might go well for them. But,
Well,
you know, I think people, the right thing happens to those type of people. They probably end up 6 feet under or a good enough scare to change their career course.
yes, they are. They're not cut out for the duty. I mean, the
No.
bounty hunters. They are
Dismissive.
not intelligent enough to investigate
What
like
does
a
that mean?
lawman, and not intelligent enough to get a real job. They just
they live in the
want to
in-between.
fight and kill.
Yeah, pretty much. I think they should take up boxing or something. It'd be at least entertaining to watch.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
A nice evening of entertainment.
Exactly. Hey, speaking of evening of entertainment, Sheriff, you happen to enjoy horse racing?
I do.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I was just showing the men from the bank, the lovely lounge just probably 20 feet below us. But now that I own the place, once a week I'm planning on running horse racing downstairs over the phonograph. Sounds like you're right there. You hear the thunder of the horses. You hear the announcers from New York talk about it. And 3 races once a week. I'll have all the flyers printed out so everybody knows the odds. They can follow their favorite horse.
Oh, wait, you
can put a little
speak
money on it
French,
if they'd like to get in
Kainas?
on the action. But it'll be quite the spectacle, that's for sure. And I'd be happy to have you,
You
and
you can
any
you
of your
can
deputies, undersheriffs, and
speak
Van Horn come travel
French
down to the city.
anytime with Apolline, you
Will
know.
there be some
Even if
gambling involved?
even if
Of
there is
course, sir,
player
and I
who
even
plays
have,
French,
something
and if
called the
they
winner's
don't
circle,
speak French
where a
for
few days
real,
in
you know,
advance, anybody that's with the winner's circle,
their character
I send
speaks
them a
French, so
personalized
Apolline
letter
will take it
with the information
for them to
beforehand and a
be
little
French,
inside
you know what I mean?
information from the trainers
Even
and
if
staff
you
workers
don't
at the
speak
track,
French in
let you
real
know what
life.
the weather's looking like, how the track's running, who's looking good, and
Oh, that's
training, all
great,
that good stuff.
Kainas. Okay, you're doing good.
So it's a
Now,
nice, fun ordeal.
It's wonderful.
would you pique my interest, sir, and tell me if there is illegal gambling?
Not that I would know. It's all very straight up and on the books. Again, there's odds with it and all that good stuff. Maybe some street kids on the east side shooting dice, but that's about it.
Well, I'm a bit curious that you ask this kind of question. Aren't you a representative of the law? You should know this, no?
The city works in mysterious ways, Miss Apolline.
Certainly.
Well, now, Mr. Rizzo,
Yes, sir.
I would be interested in this. I would indeed.
Yeah, fantastic. Is there a
He wants
way
to
I can
gamble.
contact you? Do the law office up there have their own telegram, or I can give you
I'm
mine?
It looks like a
I
pirate.
am sure we do, but I do not care to look at it. I'll get Ernest
Perfect.
to contact it.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
He is supposed to be just buying a coat at the tailor, but he's yet to return.
He might be, starstruck by the man that was asking you about your pants.
Oh, I forgot about him.
Yeah, I wish I did.
Oh, well.
Hello, Levi. Oh, thanks. Oh, thanks. Jesus. Jesus. I need to get you keys so you can just put all this in the storage for me.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, let me actually... Excuse me. Let me lean over to you. I got the keys in the cash register. Put you on the books, Levi.
And how are you, Miss Apolline?
I'm doing great. I woke up not a time ago. Doing good. I'm waiting for my uncle. Have you met him?
No, but I'm gonna guess that you found him. You were looking for him last time I saw you.
I'm always looking for him because I completely forget to ask his telegram number. So I don't know where he is.
Well, you should make note of that for this time.
I should remember. I lost him 2 days ago now.
Oh,
He
you
might
still
be in
haven't-
the
You still
city.
haven't found him?
No, I've not found him.
Oh.
I don't know where he is.
Have you tried asking the local law department?
I did, but actually I did not. Not today. I've not seen them for today.
Well, I don't know if I
hope
would
he's not
bother.
dead.
Oh, what did you just do?
They are useless.
I'm pretty sure I gave you some keys.
Oh,
No, I did not. Get
why?
It.
You should know.
They care more about their uniform being pressed correctly than they do about stopping and finding out crime.
I don't know about that because the last time we had a shooting in the city and I saw the law officer running directly to the shoot, so they seems
I'm right.
they seems
You're in here,
reactive.
chef. You're in the books, baby.
All right, all right.
But
Sounds
I
like a-
cannot tell the same things for you since you are the sheriff
Hello,
of Van
hello.
Horn and you are here in Saint Denis.
I'm here enjoying myself. Nothing ever goes on in Van Horn because we're the safest town in New Hanover.
Is it now?
How you doing, sir?
Indeed.
So how many
Yes.
officers do you have in Van Horn?
3.
I guess it's enough.
The people of Van Horn look after themselves.
I would love to visit your town if it seems safe. I would love to visit.
It seems. Of course it's safe. I'm able to leave and come here and enjoy the city. And I go back and it's fine.
Oh, so
That's
you
good.
useless.
Me?
I mean, if it's safe.
He can delegate.
Well, there is use for me, Apple. Listen. We do such a good job in Van Horn that
Can I help you, sir?
I could just spend all
Levi,
my
that's
time
the
here in
man
the
from the
city.
bank. He's helping
Oh.
dimensions and such.
Gotcha.
That's fair. Yeah, he's leaving,
Where's my
right?
underchef's up there right now? He's enjoying Van Horn. He's wandered around, having a good time, I'm sure.
And what do you have interesting in Van Horn?
We had the saloon,
Okay, so that's why you are here, I guess.
and we have. Well, we had the saloon.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Rizzo. I need to speak to you in private for a moment, please.
Yes, sir.
Suppose I should keep my voice down, not to interrupt them.
Me too, but if we speak, if we whisper, Levi cannot hear us.
I can hear you right now.
Yes, because I'm not whispering, but can you hear me
Oh
now?
yeah, no, I cannot hear you.
Yes,
That's-
yeah.
Well,
You talking shit over there, Apolline?
What did you say, Levi? Sorry.
I'm talking shit over there.
Oh, can you?
Are you talking shit?
No, no,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no. That's why I want you to hear me. That's why.
I see. I see.
I will not tell your secrets, Apolline. Don't worry. Now,
I can't keep that name anyway.
the saloon just opened again, run by Miss Maeve.
Okay, so there is a saloon and that's it.
Oh, there's good fishing.
All right. Well,
And well, there's good people. You know, Van Horn is good people.
So you are not running away from Van Horn. You are just enjoying your time here.
I would say that I'm a cultured man. You know, I travel. I
Okay.
meet people.
Interesting. If
I have to give my deputy a badge because I don't have any spare, so he's here at the tailor.
Yes, sir.
If
And
I
also,
have time, I would love to
uh,
visit
perfect.
Van Horn.
I like the Bastille.
Oh, sorry.
The best is the best place here.
Oh, I'll have to make sure.
I would agree. I mean, I love that I come here and I have to just, you know, long for liquor. But hopefully that's going to change soon. I can actually drink it.
I hope they
I
can
believe-
have wine and champagne.
I believe Mr. Rizzo is going to acquire some alcohol. Imported
Yes.
from somewhere.
Yes. I've heard that there is a lady in a saloon. Oh, I don't remember. Is it Blackwater or Valentine? She sells alcohol, apparently.
Oh, yes, I heard of this too in Valentine.
Oh, so that's in Valentine. Oh no, what a shame.
Oh, I know.
There's a man. Do you know Doyle's or the Hole in the Wall? Down
Doyle's?
Yeah, it's in the slums of Saint Denis.
Yeah, of course I know Doyle's.
Yeah, there's whoever owns that, they're selling beer. They said.
There is beer.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's
but
a
here's the
saloon?
thing is, I guess yeah, but I went there yesterday, and he
What?
said that they're out of stock completely, and it's gonna take like 2 to 3 hours before they can even serve me. So I was like, all right, well, not interested.
I didn't even know that there is another saloon in Saint Denis.
It's more of like a pub than a saloon.
All right. Oh là là.
Now, I used to drink in Doyle's actually a long, long time ago.
A lot.
Possibly.
I only drink good wines.
Oh, but yes, I could read that a mile
Rizzo,
away.
can you open this door?
Oh.
Oh, hey.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
But-
Sorry.
No,
That's all right.
Doyle's is a wonderful place. The east side of Saint Denis is filled with lovely people.
The east side is the slums, right?
They're not slums, Ms. Apolline. They're just people who are hardworking and humble.
I agree.
Is slums a bad word?
It could be demeaning.
I would not say it in Doyle's.
All right.
But the people of the east side of Saint Denis are much similar to the people of Van Horn.
Oh, now I know. I understand why you like them. That makes sense. And would you happen to make me a tour of Van Horn? Hello. Esmeralda.
Good to see you.
Good to see
Apolline.
you. Did you had a good sleep?
I did. And yourself?
Very much. I have the best
Hey,
view of
Levi, I
Saint
put
Denis.
food in the storage. If anyone's hungry, you can serve them up.
All right.
Oh, yes, Levi, I must purchase many things from you. Please.
All right. What are you interested in? We
Oh,
have,
let me come around.
Oh.
well, we have pork chops.
Bisous, bisous, bisous. Ça va ou quoi? T'étais en vacances où? Je veux tout
we have
savoir,
pork
dis-moi tout.
chops. We have some salmon.
Le serveur, il est trop bien,
catfish,
meuf.
Some frog
Il est trop
legs,
bien.
fried frog legs.
On a déjà
Venison steaks.
3
Bird on a
Français.
stick, and just
4 avec
some
moi.
fried chicken legs.
Okay, give me 4 fried chicken legs, 4 venison steaks, and then 4 salmon.
All right. All right, and then it's gonna be $3.
All right, just a moment. Here's your money.
I just hope that they will fix the voice, because I feel like when someone is behind my character, it's like I cannot tell exactly where they are, you know, like the sound is, the voices are a bit weird, you know.
Okay.
I don't know how to explain.
There you go.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's
do you have
like
anything
the
to
guy
drink as well?
is a bit far away, but it's
believe we
like
have
I can hear him close, you know.
Yeah, we have 1 black coffee.
I hope it will
One?
get fixed soon because
we
it's
have
very
one right now.
disturbing.
I'll take one. How much is that? 50 cents?
Yeah.
Okay.
Quality. Oh, the quality change. Oh, okay. The water does not change, but
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank
things
you.
craftable
course.
change. Okay, I see.
Is that Ramon?
Oh, what's that? Oh,
Hey, I was in here the other day. I just wanted to know if you guys
Have a good one, Apolline.
needed
oh,
someone
see you later.
to go hunting for you
Bye-bye.
guys.
Yes, I got to go. Take care now, Miss Apolline.
Goodbyes.
Goodbye,
Bye,
Sheriff.
Levi.
Take it easy, yo.
Can
Well, I mean,
can I
if
take?
you have
Wait.
meat to sell, I mean, we'll buy it.
Oh,
Buy it for 15
I
cents each.
split.
Okay,
Can
okay.
I?
Yeah, you know,
Okay, that's
I was doing
amazing.
some hunting
Look,
and
look,
I
look,
thought
look.
about you guys. I know you
I
guys are
split.
getting started, so if I can help, I'll help.
Well, it's one by one,
Yeah, I
but
appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I do allow the hunting for here, but we will buy
ooh,
your meat for 15
okay.
cents each.
All right. What I have in my pockets right now?
Oh, it's so great.
I
I
have
like this.
3 mature
But
venison,
paper I can't. Wait, fuck.
1 big game meat,
No.
and 1 gamey bird meat.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'll
Would you
work
be
on that.
interested
I'll
in
work
that?
on that.
Yeah, we'll do.
J'étais juste pour parler quelques jours pour
Yeah,
voir
yes,
des amis
sir.
aller à un concert.
Yeah, it'll
Je
be
suis là en
$1.20.
français, ça me hype trop de voir des
Yeah,
garçons.
you can use this.
Ce serait
yeah.
tellement
Now, they're
cool
not
si
best
tu
quality, so I
rejoins.
don't mind if you take off for
J'espère
that.
que ça
There's no
t'a
chips
hype un
and
petit
cards.
peu.
That's why I was asking if I could buy chips and cards for that one. But it's no worries at all.
And there you go.
The you is so good, right?
Sure, yeah.
Apolline, you got the meat.
No rush.
Yes.
Thank you again for everything.
Oh, geez, I'm just
You as well.
Hold on, let
handing
me.
it to anyone.
How you doing,
No, it's all
Esmeralda?
right.
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Appreciate it.
There you go.
Doing splendid.
That's good.
All
I'm
right.
heading out, but I'll see you.
Come over here a little bit.
All right.
Bye.
No, I agree. I agree. It's good. It's just a bit complicated to understand every mechanics. But it's really good. What's that?
All right. Appreciate that.
Oh, you can take that one too.
100? What is 100?
Thank you. If I have any,
100 what?
if I come across any unfortunate game, I'll bring it back here.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
So I think I understood something. Sorry, I'm like I was a wait. Okay, she was so.
Pardon me.
So when I press this key, I can change the stance. See? I can change the stance. So like for example, she will wipe it. She wipes. See? Or I can change the stance by biting. Okay, no, she wipes and she bites. But see, and she eats it. I change the stance, bite. She's actually eating it. So I understand now how eating works. It's a very wide sentence, very, very strange, but I understand now. Oh fuck no! My apple. I understand how to bite and eat, yes. I was struggling. I was struggling for days. Fuck me. No! Okay, okay. Oh, okay, I understand now. Ah, wait. What's going on? Oh. Okay. I like it. Hector, how are you? I like that the clothes is going to the inventory. Yes, yes. So that means that you can give them. Can I? Yeah, you can give them to people. I just don't understand that give single half amount. I think this is a bit useless, but I like it. I think it's really, really good. It's a good UI. Imagine somebody robs your shoes. Oh man, they can rob them for real now. And also I saw this person with the wagon, but I don't know if like this person might be a staff maybe? He might be a staff and I don't know if the wagon is available. I don't know how they got the wagon, but I really want a wagon. I want a wagon so bad. The little buggy that they had, I want it. I want it so bad. Isn't that pretty? Oh my god. Saint Denis, crazy. Oh, I love it. Yeah, cloud, exactly. Like, I mean, if you want to open a, how do you say, like a musical shop, instruments, you can. It's possible, you know, because there is an actual building for that. If you want to open a bakery, you can open a bakery, you know, because there is also a building for that, you know what I mean? Like, it gives people and civilians possibilities, and that's great. And in my belief is that when a server is healthy, there is a lot of civilians or civilians activity. I don't mean like 100% civilians, sorry, but there is civilians activity like farming or business company, you know, these kind of things. And that makes the server more, you know, people are more into it, you know, because they can create, they can be creative, because the server gives you the materials to do these kind of things. Hello. Oh, I'm so stupid. I think I left the... I left the horse, I left Basti. Oh, no. Did I left it? No, wait. Manage. With outside? Fall is out of stable. Oh. So I can't... Oh, fuck. I can't use it if it's out? Wait. Joli! 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 Oh, fuck! Here she is. There you go. Oh, I will just check the deputy very quick. Hello? Anybody here? Ooh, there is a phone. I took 2 years of French in school and I barely remember how to say anything. French is difficult. Listen, French is even difficult for me and I'm a native speaker. So I understand. I understand the pain. I can understand things you say sometimes, yeah, you know? And I put subtitles when I speak, so it helps people to learn. It works, yeah, amazing. Oh, also, a little new. I just opened a YouTube channel and I will put all the VODs, everything on this YouTube channel, so don't hesitate to follow. So many horses. I'm also wondering if I put money in the Bank of Saint-Denis, is it the same here in Rhodes? Hello, sir. Oh! So the money in Saint-Denis is not the same. Wait! Safe deposit box? What's that? Oh! So the money that I put in Saint-Denis is different. Okay. That is interesting. I like this. I really like this, you know. It's realistic. It's like you well, if I go to Blackwater, I need to have money then. Well, I'll just have $1, but I like this. And do I have my contacts here in the Telegram? Hello, postman. Okay, so that's not different. We have the same Telegram and same contacts. That makes sense, actually. That makes sense. No Wi-Fi transfer to bank exactly.
Well, hello.
Ah! No, I like it. I like it. I prefer like that, actually. I will check Blackwater. Yeah, Cloud, if I understood well, is that cities have a different law and like a sheriff from Saint-Denis cannot interfere in anything with the sheriff in Blackwater, for example. I'm not sure, but I think it's something like that. I guess they can help each other, but they cannot really interfere or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. You could be negative in the roads and positive in Saint-Denis. I guess that would make sense. And I really like it. Small things like that to make the server immersive, yeah. I like when the server is a bit realistic. Oh my god, I'm dying. It's so hot. I'm dying. No, is my horse already tired? No, come on, come on. Are you tired? Oh no. You okay, Jolie? Good girl, calm down. Fuck. Is she tired? Oh my god, I think she's exhausted. She's exhausted. Fuck. I don't know how it works. I don't know how horse works. What the fuck? Hello?
Hello. How are you?
Do you need help? Where is your horse?
So it's a funny thing about the horse. I don't have one, do I?
Oh, so where are you going?
I'm not quite entirely sure, to be honest with you. I've made a huge mistake. I got off the train in Blackwater. I missed my stop, which was meant to be Saint Denis. I don't know if you know it.
I'm from Saint-Denis.
Oh, you are? Well, that's a treat. Do you know if I'm going the correct direction?
I guess you are, but it is quite a trip. Saint-Denis is far away, very far away. You made not even the half of the way.
Oh, my goodness. All right.
I guess I can help you and drop you in Saint-Denis.
I would greatly appreciate it if you don't mind.
Sure. Were you in Blackwater?
Yes, I
Oh,
was.
you can
I was
hop
in
on.
Blackwater.
Have you seen a French man in Blackwater?
How would I know if he was French?
What do you mean?
You told me to tell you if he was French or not, but I don't
Well,
know how I
you
would tell
hear
if he was
it.
French. Oh, yes. I hadn't thought of that. I suppose there might have been a French person there. I don't really know what the French accent sort of entails these days.
It looks like man. You know, he talks like me.
Oh, is that so? All right.
Yes. Have you seen a tall man, handsome, French, blonde?
No, I haven't. I haven't seen any tall blonde men, and I would tell you if I had. I'm a very honest man, so.
Sure. What is your name?
My name is Montgomery Fitzwarren, at your service.
Monsieur Montgomery?
Yes, Montgomery, but you could call me Monty if you like when we get to know each other a bit, more.
Sure. My name is Apolline de Villeneuve, but you can call me Apple, I guess.
Miss Apolline, you said?
Apolline, yes.
All right. Lovely to meet you, Miss Apolline.
Well, are you American?
No, I am not.
Oh, that's why, because you say my name perfectly. It's very rare.
Do Americans struggle with such things?
A lot. Sadly, they cannot even pronounce my name and they call me Apple.
Well, I suppose that's a quaint nickname, as it were, but yes, I don't see what the trouble is.
I don't know, maybe their mouth is not formed for this name. I don't know.
It could be. Maybe the diet of the American.
Maybe. And so you took the train and you arrived in Blackwater, correct?
Yes, this was a terrible mistake, though. I was meant to get off in Saint Denis, and I have to admit to you, I think that the conductor man was just trying to get a bit more money out of me because he's seen me fast asleep in the carriage, and he did not wake me when we passed through Saint Denis. So I think he just wanted to stiff me for more of a ticket price, if you were.
Oh no, he's smart, but that's not fair.
Yes, and who could blame me for being so exhausted after my journey all the way from New York?
Oh, understandable. Yeah. And what do you do for a living?
At the moment, nothing. But that is all meant to change very shortly, I assure you.
All right, because you look like a journalist, or.
Oh, is that so?
Yes, you look like a novelist. I think that's the word.
No, I'm not a novelist. I did work for some time as a bartender in a theater, and that gave me a great opportunity to review productions and such without having to put much effort into buying tickets as I was working there.
Oh, I see. So you would like to work in the theater?
Well, you see, I did in the past, but I've had a few bad auditions that have really put me off the whole enterprise, if I'm honest with you. Not on my part. I think I did a fantastic job, but the auditionaire? Yeah, that sounds right.
Auditioner, yes.
The auditionaire, they did not see what was standing right in front of them as being one of the most miraculous theatrical performers on offer at the time, so...
Yeah, no, they're like that sometimes. So you are an actor, you perform.
Well, yes, not a currently working actor, as I said, but their loss.
That's wonderful.
And what is it you do, Miss Apolline?
I just help my uncle, you know, as a secretary. He wants to run the elections in Saint-Denis. He wants to be the mayor in Saint-Denis, so I'm helping him. But that's all. You know,
Oh, right.
they tricked me, my father and him, here, you know. So I was in France and my father told me, oh yes, Apolline, go to America, have fun. America is the new country, you know, and you can, everything is possible there. And I thought that I will have fun, but no. Actually, they tricked me and I work for my uncle. So...
Wait, yeah, so you do have a job then?
Technically, I'm just helping him, technically. I guess it's a job, I don't know, I didn't get paid for that. Hello?
So you don't get paid even though you're doing a job?
Yes.
Well, that doesn't seem right.
No, definitely not right.
You know what you should do? I recommend that you make notes on how many hours you have been working and assisting your uncle, and should the time come, you should report to him that you would like to be paid for that time.
Oh, so you are an accountable, not an actor.
No, I just know what money is worth, and you need to get paid for the time that you spend. It's just simple economics.
I don't know, I thought that money... I thought that just people give you money, you know, or like money fall off the sky or something. I don't know, you know, I don't know how it works. I never had to work before.
Well,
nobody
I will
told
tell you
me.
that I do wish that the money did fall out of the sky at times, but specifically at my feet. Because if it was falling out all over the place, then it wouldn't be really worth anything, I don't think.
Yeah, maybe, no.
Well, as I say, you should tell your uncle you deserve a fair wage for the work that you're offering.
I will tell him. I never thought about that. I think it's a good... it's a good advice.
Yes, and if he says no, perhaps you seek out other opportunities, not that you would take them, but just so that you can bring back the information to your uncle that you have found gangful employment, and should he like to maintain your services, he will need to contribute a bit to your monthly allowance, as it were.
Well, I thought about something. I thought about writing stories or poetry or books, something like that. I like to read.
Oh, like a novelist or
Pretty
something
much.
like that.
Pretty much, yes.
Have you been writing for long?
A bit. I just like it, but there is a problem that I write it in French, not in English. So I might need a translator here to help me.
Do you know any French/English speakers that could assist with such a thing?
Well, there is my uncle, but his English is okay. But, there is also my cousin, but his English is... he's trying. And that's all, I think.
So we need to find you an interpreter, it would seem, Miss Apolline.
Reaching in my ear.
Shepton!
That sounded like an awfully familiar voice.
Who?
The person who just passed on the horse. It sounded like my former colleague, Fenton.
Oh. Okay.
Do you know him? Do you know Fenton?
No, I don't know this person. Who is he?
Yes, he was also an actor in the theatre.
I knew they were
Slightly
friends.
more successful than me, to be fair, but...
Who is that? Oh, okay, amazing. So that means he's from Saint-Denis as well?
Oh no, I'm not from Saint-Denis.
No, is he? Is he from Saint-Denis?
No, he's not from Saint-Denis either.
Oh.
Well, maybe he is now, but not in the past.
Do you want me to drop you in the telegram station or somewhere?
That would be magnificent, thank you.
Oh, alright.
Oh no, I wasn't trying to leap off. I thought you had stopped. Would you like to exchange telegram number
I would love to.
information?
Why is he saying like that? Information. Can you spell your name?
Absolutely. It's Montgomery, Montjomery. And then the surname is Fitzwarren, Fitzwarren.
Alright, sorry. Can you spell your last name again?
I can indeed. It is Fitzwarren.
FWTZWAY.
Maybe I should speak a bit slower. I apologize. FITZWARREN.
Guys, what is I? I is Fitzwarren.
That is correct, yes. Fitzwarren, the same.
And what is your telegram number?
Now, you're going to have to forgive me. I haven't sent a telegram in this jurisdiction before, but I believe... is this it here, Mr. Telegram Tender Man, on the top left of my telegram card? All right, it is MCF 92030.
MCF 92030?
Yes. Most campy fella.
Your first telegram. There you go.
Magnifique.
Magnifique. Oh my god, it's so hot.
Many thanks again, Miss Apolline.
Sure.
And I trust you are going to have a nice, productive day today and not be ripped off any longer by your uncle.
I will try my best. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful
Bon
day and good
voyage.
luck. My god, I think I saw Shepton, but he does not play Shepton. Oh. Guys, it's so hot right now. I think I will end up the street, not gonna lie, like I'm dying. I'm so dying. What do I have?
Привет, madam.
Whoa! Oh, hello. Fuck. I'm so hot. No. Wait. I cannot say that, right? I think it's not right. I think I can't say that. It's so hot, sorry. No, I can't walk and drink. There you go. Ah! Apolline's workouts. Stairs. Up and down, up and down. I can watch people. Hey guys, I will end up the stream right now. I'm sorry, I'm dying. I'm dying so much. I need time for myself. But I love you. I hope I can stream tomorrow. It depends of the temperature, not gonna lie. It's like super hot. I love you. I hope I see you soon. I want to read Ricky. He plays this new character. I'm not sure if I got the name right. Felton? I don't know. Hey, big brother. Bye bye. Thank you again. Goodbye, guys. Love you. See you tomorrow.